Get ready. It's Blunt Force Truth Prime Chuck.
Christopher Columbus had the best PR guy in the 1400s. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Everybody knows that saying today. That is a great PR. Here's the deal. He's under attack by the left, not by the right. He's under attack by everybody on the left. Indigenous people, you name it, he's under attack. Columbus is an Italian who thought the world was round, not flat. This is really interesting to me. So he goes to Spain. He can't get funding in Italy. He's an adventurer. He goes to Spain, obviously a sailor who, all sailors back in those days sailed around the coast. They didn't get too far off the coast because they thought they'd drop off the edge of the earth at some point. So he goes to Spain and gets Isabella and Ferdinand to back him up. So he wants this adventure to go find China for trade, to make money. That's what adventurers did. They went out and made money for the king and queen. So, she gives him a ship. He goes, he gets on. Here's the interesting problem. Columbus was a good guy. He lived at an interesting time, and we always try to judge history by the time we're in instead of the time that preceded us, and the times that preceded us were very, very different. So they took care of things in a very different way. He at one time, I think, cut some guy's nose off and cut his hands off as well for doing something bad, which you would never do today. And Muslims will do it today because they do. So it depends on what part of the world you're in as to what kind of legal system you're under. But anyway, aside from that, he goes and he finds the Bahamas or the Caribbean islands instead of finding China. And while he's there, here's the things that he's accused of. He's accused of wiping out the indigenous people, which is not true. He wanted to be very gentle with the indigenous people, and he wanted to make friends with them. He wanted to trade with them. He also wanted to know where in the crap he was, because he didn't know. So he landed on, as you well know, the Caribbean's full of islands. So he landed on several islands at different times and dealt differently with the indigenous people. And some of the tribes who were Indian at the time, he called them Indians because he thought he was in India. But anyway, some of the tribes were friendly. There was one tribe that was not friendly. At least one that's pointed out. And those are the ones he was accused of wiping out. He completely did away with them. He left 3 men on shore to deal with this tribe, not knowing that they were cannibals. And they were cannibals to their own, not to their own people, but they would go to different islands in boats and cannibalize those people and bring them back as slaves. And in one case, they would bring beautiful women, they considered beautiful women back, and they would have children with them. And as they had these babies, they literally were like animals. They would take the babies and eat them and just impregnate the women again. So it was a source of food for them. So they were eating all of their babies. This is just something that's beyond our comprehension. But that was what was going on with this one tribe that he was accused of wiping out. He did wipe them out as best he could. He took some of the women who were held by them as slaves. They wanted to go with Columbus, and so he took them as slaves. He didn't take them as slaves. He took them away from the slavery they were in, and he put them on his boats, and he did take a lot of them to Spain. So he was accused of slaving these women when, in fact, he saved the women. History has a very funny way of being totally perverted in order to suit the ideas of the people who want to do something and pervert it and make something out of it that it just is not true. And most people don't know history, so they go along with it and say, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, there's another thing, too. He was trading with different island groups for gold. And he could not, there's one thing that is absolutely true. He could not control the men who served under him. They were wild. Most of them Spanish. Most of them had no future. Well, think about, how do you get a crew together to get on a boat, to go to some place you hope exists, and you may fall off the edge of the earth? How do you gather a crew to do that? Guys that just don't care about anything. So they were wild. and he could never control them. So let's go with two other things, and then I'll stop. One is they would go to an island, these men who were on his crew, and they would try to trade these islanders. In fact, they did trade these islanders with trinkets for gold, because the islanders, some of them had gold. So they would trade trinkets for it. Columbus didn't like this. He said, look, we're not here to take advantage of these people. This is not what we're here for. We're here to explore, find out what's going on, look at the territory, everything else. Please do not do this. These people are so simple that they will give you what they have for anything you have that they've never seen before. It got to the point where the crew were breaking up bottles and giving them pieces of glass for gold. I mean, it was insane. And this incensed Columbus. So out of that experience and many other experiences with his crew, they accused him of all kinds of things. These were the crewmen who accused their captain and their leader of things. Eventually, Columbus was put in chains, taken back to Ferdinand and Isabella to deal with his crossing the line, so to speak. Well, they exonerated him. He didn't do anything. They knew he didn't. It was all, it was all just allegations by this crew. So anyway, that's basically how perverted and how upside down history can get with a guy who really did a wonderful thing discovering this area, this country. We know him as the discoverer of America, and everybody wants to tear down the history of America, and that's what this is really all about. They're going to go for Christopher Columbus, Thomas Jefferson, because he was a slave owner, George Washington, he was a slave owner, and right on down the line to here's what the final goal of all of this is with the statues, the history, good, bad, and indifferent. It's all about this. We'll finally get to the source of all of it. The source of all of it is right in the middle. We were a country for almost 300 years before the Revolution, don't forget. So the source of it is right in the middle, and that's the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, everything that the left hates. It's the founding of the country, and this is the chewing around the edges in order to get to the heart and take the heart out of America. So I love Christopher Columbus. I love Columbus Day. I'm not even Italian. I'm Irish. I'm Black Irish. And I still love Christopher Columbus. I hope you do too. Thanks for listening.